7 Universal Human Flaws. A guide to the patterns that hold us back. Prologue, an owner's manual for the mind. Long before the first laws were written or the first cities built, humans gathered around fires and in temples, in marketplaces and meditation halls, and told stories about a shared struggle. These stories from every corner of the world kept returning to the same themes. The hero brought low by his own arrogance. The community shattered by unchecked desire. The individual consumed by inner demons. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of millennia of collective observation into the human condition. What we now often refer to as the 7 deadly sins is far more than a medieval religious concept. It is a profound, pre-scientific map of the human psyche. A universal ledger of the inner tendencies that most commonly lead us astray. These flaws are not inherently evil. They are natural human drives for confidence, for security, for pleasure, for status, that have spiraled out of balance. They are the shadow side of our greatest strengths. This video explores this ancient map through a modern lens. We will journey through these 7 universal patterns, not to condemn, but to understand. By integrating the enduring wisdom of the world's cultures with the clarifying light of contemporary psychology and neuroscience, we can transform this ancient list from a tool of judgment into a practical guide for self-awareness, growth, and a more peaceful life. The foundation. Inflated self-importance, pride, hubris. This is often considered the root of all other flaws. It's the excessive focus on the self that distorts our view of reality. What it looks like in real life. The inability to admit you're wrong, even with clear evidence. Constantly needing to be the smartest person in the room. Taking credit for successes and blaming others for failures. Feeling a sense of superiority based on your job, wealth, background, or beliefs. The universal warning. The ancient Greeks called this hubris, an arrogant pride that invited disaster. Eastern philosophies teach that the ego, or sense of a separate, superior self, is the primary illusion that causes suffering. In many wisdom traditions, it's seen as the wall that separates us from others, from learning, and from a deeper truth. Psychologists distinguish between healthy self-esteem and toxic narcissism. Our brains have a default mode network that is active when we think about ourselves. When this becomes overactive, it creates a distorted, self-centered worldview. Evolutionarily, a degree of self-focus was needed for survival. But when it runs unchecked, it destroys cooperation and empathy. Brain scan studies show that pride activates brain regions associated with self-relevance. And when these are disrupted, people see themselves more realistically. The bottomless pit. The need for more, greed, avarice. This is the trap of believing that happiness and security can be found in the endless accumulation of wealth, status, or possessions. What it looks like in real life. Chasing a promotion not for the work, but purely for the status and money, even if it makes you miserable. Hoarding resources far beyond what you could ever use. Feeling a constant sense of scarcity that you never have enough. Valuing people based on their net worth. The universal warning. Virtually every ethical system warns against the hardening of the heart that comes with greed. It's seen as a spiritual poison that turns others into competitors or objects to be used. The message is consistent. What you own ends up owning you. Greed is often a response to anxiety and insecurity. We are wired to seek resources for survival. This is the scarcity mindset baked into our DNA. In the modern world, this ancient wiring gets hijacked. We seek financial wealth as a proxy for safety. However, the hedonic treadmill effect in psychology shows that we quickly adapt to new levels of wealth, and the temporary joy of a new purchase fades, forcing us to seek the next thing. This creates a cycle of dissatisfaction. The corrosive comparison. Resenting others. Success, envy. Envy is not a desire for success. It's a resentment of those who have it. It's the painful feeling that another person's happiness or success somehow diminishes your own. What it looks like in real life. Feeling a pang of satisfaction when a successful colleague fails. Downplaying a friend's achievement instead of celebrating it. Scrolling through social media and feeling bitter about others' vacations, relationships, or milestones. Gossiping or spreading rumors to tarnish someone's reputation. The universal warning. Envy is universally described as a cancer of the soul. It's considered particularly destructive because it doesn't motivate you to improve your own life. It only makes you want to tear others down. It isolates you and fills you with bitterness. Envy is a dysfunctional form of social comparison. We are hardwired to compare ourselves to others in our tribe to gauge our own status and safety. But envy kicks in when we feel threatened by a peer's success. Psychologists find it's most potent when the other person is similar to us. This pain at another's good fortune is linked to feelings of inferiority and low self-esteem. The loss of control, overconsumption, gluttony. This is not about enjoying food or drink. It's about the loss of self-control and overindulgence in anything to the point of waste and self-harm. From food and alcohol to binge-watching and consumerism. What it looks like in real life. Binge eating to the point of sickness regularly. Compulsive shopping for things you don't need, creating clutter and debt. Substance abuse. Mindlessly consuming digital content for hours, numbing your mind. The universal warning. The core teaching across traditions is one of moderation. Gluttony represents a slavery to one's base appetites. The idea is that being controlled by consumption makes you a slave, not a free person. It clouds your judgment and prevents you from pursuing higher goals. Gluttony is tied to the brain's most powerful reward system, the mesolimbic pathway, which releases dopamine. This system is essential for survival. We need to eat. But in our modern world of abundance, it can be easily hijacked. Neuroscientists have found that the brain activity in someone overeating is remarkably similar to someone addicted to drugs. The struggle is between this ancient reward circuit and the modern prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control and long-term planning. The distorted desire. Using others' lust. This flaw is the intense and obsessive desire for sexual gratification that objectifies others, reducing human beings to instruments of personal pleasure. What it looks like in real life. Using people as objects for gratification without regard for their well-being. Compulsive sexual behavior that harms relationships and self-respect. An obsession with physical appearance and sexuality that overshadows character and connection. Infidelity and the breakdown of trust in committed relationships. The universal warning. Lust is universally seen as a distortion of a natural and powerful human drive. The problem is not the feeling itself, but the loss of control and the objectification of others. It is warned against because it breaks sacred bonds of trust and reduces the profound capacity for intimacy to a mere transaction. Lust is driven by a powerful neurochemical cocktail designed to ensure procreation. However, in a modern context, this primal drive can become disconnected from emotional intimacy and commitment. Psychology shows that when lust becomes compulsive, it shares characteristics with behavioral addictions, offering a temporary high that often leads to feelings of emptiness, shame, and disconnection afterward. The destructive fire, uncontrolled anger, wrath. This is not the fleeting feeling of frustration. It's the nurturing of rage the desire for revenge, and the loss of control that leads to destructive words and actions. What it looks like in real life. Road rage, screaming matches, and holding bitter grudges for years. Passive-aggressive behavior designed to punish others. Letting a minor irritation ruin your entire day. Online trolling and hateful comments. The universal warning. The danger of wrath is a constant theme. It's described as a fire that burns the one who carries it. The advice is universally toward patience, forgiveness, and mastering one's temper before it masters you. Anger is a primal fight-or-flight response to a perceived threat. It floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you for conflict. While useful in short bursts for survival, chronic anger is a disaster. It impairs cognitive function, damages your cardiovascular health, and pushes away the people you care about. It's an emotional hijacking where the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, overrides the rational prefrontal cortex. The silent failure. The void of apathy. Slaapestia. This is the most misunderstood flaw. It's not just laziness. It's a deep spiritual and mental apathy. It's a refusal to engage with life, to use your talents, or to care about anything deeply. What it looks like in real life. Chronic procrastination on important life goals. Spending hours mindlessly scrolling instead of doing something meaningful. A what's the point? Attitude toward relationships, work, and personal growth. Neglecting your health, your home, and your responsibilities out of sheer listlessness. The universal warning. This is often called the sin of omission. The failure isn't what you did, but what you failed to do. It's the waste of human potential. It's seen as a passive rejection of the gift of life itself. This state closely mirrors symptoms of depression and burnout. It represents a shutdown of the brain's motivation and reward systems. The prefrontal cortex, which drives goal-directed behavior, becomes underactive. In our modern world, it can be a response to overwhelm, a lack of purpose, or the constant dopamine hits from entertainment that make real-life efforts seem unappealing. Conclusion. From flaws to growth. This universal list isn't meant to make us feel guilty. Instead, it gives us a clear-eyed view of the most common traps of being human. These aren't monsters lurking in the shadows. They are exaggerated versions of our natural drives. Pride is healthy self-esteem gone cancerous. Greed is the survival instinct run amok. Envy is social comparison turned toxic. Gluttony is the need for nourishment becoming self-destructive consumption. Lust is the drive for connection distorted into objectification. Wrath is a protective instinct that now destroys us. Sloth is the body's call for rest that has become a permanent surrender. The goal is not to eliminate these feelings, but to recognize them, understand their power, and choose to act differently. This is the work of a lifetime. The practice of building self-awareness, cultivating gratitude, practicing moderation, and choosing purposeful action over apathy. By understanding this universal map of our inner challenges, we can stop being controlled by them and start navigating toward a more fulfilled, peaceful, and connected life.